Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bimpekuti Matekenya, and I am a senior lecturer at the University of Greater Manchester. I lead on our public health programs, but I also lead on an initiative that is very close to my heart, and that is the involvement of service users and carers in our teaching and learning curriculum across all of our health and social care profession curriculum. The initiative that we entered into the PEN Award this year is called the Patient as Coach Team. So when I was asked, this was in 2016 by the then Dean, to lead on this initiative of how we involve service users and carers, people with lived experience into our teaching curriculum, I knew I had to do it in a way that will be sustainable, but that will also create a lifeline for a lot of people in the community who have stories to share and that would want to use that to train health and social care professionals. So we wanted it to be a part of our curriculum. I wanted it to just be more than a guest lecture where we bring in a person with lived experience and they start in front of the students to deliver their story. So I went into a co-production, invited a few service users, people with lived experience, by reaching out to local organizations in the community to say, how valuable would this be to you to be involved in how we train future health and social care professionals? How would it be more meaningful to you, and what should we do? And the key word a lot of you would have heard of is tokenistic, that we don't want to come and do this and we feel as if we're used, our stories are used, and we walk out the door and that's it. We want to come to do this and know that we're really having an impact. We are contributing genuinely, meaningfully to helping to train future health and social care professionals. And this initiative started off not because it's a requirement now by professional regulatory bodies or advanced HE that we have to embed lived experience into how we train, but because we just wanted to inject more reality into how our students learn. So the first question when I met with a group of service users those years ago was, how can we be a part of the patient experience? How can we as academics and how can the students be a part of the patient's journey while they're still in training? And it was off of the back of the ethos of that we created the PaCT workshop in a way that will enable those individuals with their lived experience to contribute to our teaching, to contribute to our curriculum, whether it's around leadership, whether it's around culture, whether it's around collaboration or communication, to really inject the stories, the lived experience, that the abstract case studies that I as a lecturer would take to class, or the illustration that I may bring to class to try to drive home a point, can't do, just as when someone tells the story, and aligns that with the curriculum. So this was our vision, to enhance students' understanding of the patient's perspective, to move away from that tokenistic approach to how do we drive impact? How are we going to know that these sessions are impactful to our students and they are benefiting from it? And that's where the collaborative and innovative elements came, that we created this initiative that allowed students to go away with that critical reflection, that students come back 2-3 years down the line saying, your story still stays with me. That person's story, I remember it every time I'm in the field and I'm in the practice. So what we wanted to do was to assist in developing the strong, compassionate, caring focus, to bring value to what they hear of these stories, to challenge subconscious bias, to really help to ground them in how they think of their future practice and how that session with that particular individual was now going to inform their future practice. So this is what our service users and carers came up with. That could we center the patient as coach team around the 6 C's of nursing, and we embedded it into the curriculum in year 1, year 2, and year 3. So each academic year, the students would have had 2 patient coach sessions. And this is not an add-on in any way, shape, or form. This is embedded in their curriculum. It's linked into the reflection that they complete that goes as part of their professional development portfolio as well. They feed back to us, where the students feed back to us what their patient as coach session was like. If there is room for improvement, we have training workshops continuously with the service users. Students come asking for more type of those learning. So that's how we've done it. So the process is students are allocated into small groups with a patient coach. And this was very important, and I think this is what has made this initiative sustainable. Even if I had a cohort of 100 students, the plan and what we agreed with all of our service users and carers was this has to remain a small group initiative, because that's the only way we can really have that dialogue with the students. We don't want this to grow into an initiative where I end up speaking to 100 students, I end up speaking to 90 students. So it's grown so much that I didn't even know my service users and our carers will champion technology. When it grew to the point where we couldn't facilitate it in person anymore because it's not possible for me to have 10 classrooms to myself, timetable will chase me away, we decided, oh, okay, we can facilitate these small groups and these small classrooms with a particular patient coach online. And because we have on-campus divisions as well, the learning experience literally escalated because we have students in Devon, we have a nursing provision there, and we have students in Greater Manchester that say, your experiences is completely different because of the demographics of Devon to Greater Manchester and Bolton. So the learning experience was even more impactful when we moved online. So they are allocated small group of students in 2-hour session. They already know the theme before that session, and whatever story or lived experience they decide to bring that day is aligned to that. The students go away, and based on their shared conversation, discussion, they complete their reflection and think about how that was going to impact on their future performance or their future practice. When they get to have their one-to-one with the tutor, their tutor will again go back to their PaCT session and ask them about, so it's like a full circle, that how has this impacted on your learning? What have you learned from it? How have you gained? What did you learn from your peers? What did you learn from the service user you had or the carer you had as well? And these are some of the feedback. We've published an initial article on this initiative and students' evaluation. And the one in the middle is the one that stands out to me the most, that this is more powerful than any textbook. The insights that they get from those sessions, it's not something that I can teach. It's not possible for you to ask people to unleash their experiences, and they gain so much of these sessions to the point where service users will come back and say, oh, Bimpi, I met one of the students on the ward today. I didn't remember them, but they said that I was their patient's coach in one of the sessions, and they were happy, they were caring for me on the ward when I was admitted into the hospital. And this happened 2 months ago, following a patient's coach session. The tutor that organized the session forwarded this email to me that a student had sent to them about the session that they just had, and said that their session with that particular service user hit really close to home for them. It gave them a new perspective and the motivation to carry on in their nursing education training. Their story had a lot of impact on them because at that point, this particular student was struggling and was on the verge of dropping out of the program. So she just said, thank this service user for the bottom of my heart for what she's giving back to me as a student, and thank them for the great appreciation that they have for this initiative that we have at the university. And which goes back to storytelling, what my colleague earlier said, is the fact that this initiative is helping us to shape empathetic and more compassionate caregivers in an hospital environment in a way that we couldn't have been able to do. It creates opportunity for them to really empathize, to really see the person. It's interesting because one of our service users came up with this phrase that I think every service users now say, we are what we give. And they shared that with their students as well. They challenged the stigma. This initiative, we've seen the real evidence of how it's bridging the theory-practice gap. It goes beyond what we teach them in textbooks. It injects that reality. So if we are strengthening the foundation of how we train future health and social care professionals by embedding the lived experience, then we are on our path to even strengthening the foundation of ensuring that they become more compassionate, empathetic caregivers. So the question I always leave with everyone is, whenever I have an opportunity to talk about patient experience or this initiative in teaching and learning curriculum, what stories can we responsibly bring into teaching and learning to make learning more human? And because we need the students to know that the people they go to look after and care for are humans as well. Thank you very much.
Oh, wowza. Amazing. Thank you, Bimpe. Goodness, and bang on time. Not that I'm going to wax about time all day, but Bimpe, brilliant. Thank you very much for giving us that quick insight into your submission and your best practice. I'd like to welcome questions from the audience. Please put your hand up if you have a question. There's a question down here. And any other questions? Yep, and one over in the middle. We'll go to the lady in the...
Lovely, thank you.
Oh, it's Linda. Hello.
Yes, sorry, Linda from Public Health Agency. And thank you very much for your presentation and congratulations on the award today. I was really interested in how you recruited service users onto the programme, and also because you refer to it as like coaching, is there a way to which you prepare service users to be coaches? Like, how do we arm them with the right tools to support our students?
First, we recruit. Our most successful way of recruiting has been word of mouth. So those that have come to us, either by virtue of them coming on campus, or they've been involved in one way or another, or they've been recruited by our practice partners, and they've told them about that initiative. But what I also do a lot, I go around our local community in Bolton a lot. I go around to local organizations, voluntary groups, community groups, voluntary organizations. So we've recruited very much locally within our area. But we are now going further afield. We have service users who have come from further afield as well. But the most successful way of recruiting now, those that have been, they help to recruit more service users to come on board because of the experience that they've had. Or my colleagues would mention someone that they know that would they be a good fit, and then we'll have a conversation with them. We have a training process. We have trainings, regular trainings and workshop for all of our service users and carers. I meet with all of them online once a month just to share what is happening across the wider university initiatives and learning. So for this particular initiative, there is a training session. So that training session is co-delivered by myself and already active PaCT coaches on the program. So they share their experience. We tell them what the initiative is. Then they have an opportunity, if they're new coming on board, they have an opportunity to shadow. So they will go and shadow live patient as coach sessions. They come out of that. If they have any questions, any queries, often they come back saying, I get it now. I understand exactly what this is. And we've evaluated it, obviously, from the student point of view, across different service users, because we don't control them. I can't control people's story or tell them how to tell their story. They just have a framework of what this initiative is, and they deliver it in their own individual different ways. But the feedback across the board from all the students has been, it's all been the same in terms of how beneficial it's been to them.
Thank you, Bimpe. And second question.
Right. This is like music to my ears.
Right.
I'm a nurse who trained over 50 years ago, where we actually trained on the ward with patients and got to know patients' lives and patients' stories. I still remember my first patient over 50 years ago, and that's what's carried me through my whole career. And I think it's so important to have the lived experience. Thank you very much. Great initiative.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.